Hello, welcome to Speech Talk Live. This is episode number 15, and my name is Jay Oza, and I'm the host of this show. And today we have Julie Finkelstein and Latesh Balakrishna. Julie is joining us from, I believe, Connecticut. She's all over the place, so I'll let her, when she introduces, she'll tell us exactly where she is today. She's like that Carmen Sandiego, I believe, right? She's all over the place. Anyway, and Latesh is from Mumbai, India, right? I forgot. When I used to be in India, it used to be Bombay, but now it's Mumbai. So anyway, I'm based out of Hazlet, New Jersey, which is close to New York City. And we do this show on a weekly basis to do four things: to learn, to teach, to share, and to also support each other as we are trying to improve our public speaking skill. And today what we're doing is we're going to have a short intro, and then we're going to open it up for each of us to kind of free for all, just talk for 3 minutes on a particular topic of our interest. Could be anything, could be a story, could be something that happened to you, but it's an opportunity for each of us to speak for 3 minutes so that we're practicing that short speech for 3 minutes, less than 3 minutes if you can make it. So then after that, the next thing we're going to do is many of us have been doing this show for quite some time, and it's always good to take a break and do a self-evaluation. So I'm going to use that next segment number 1, I guess, is each of us take a few minutes and do a self-evaluation based on what you think you've done well, because there's a lot of body of work here. We've done close to 14 episodes, so that's more than 14 hours, close to 15 to 16 hours when you add it all up. That at this point, we want to know what each of us, based on what we have seen, what we think we're doing well, and what we need to continue to work on. So we can all do that for maybe each of us can take maybe 3-4 minutes and do that. Then the second segment is that I want to have a discussion around this thing that I've been trying to push, and I wanted to get your feedback on it, is this importance of a 3-minute speech that we're all going to start from today. And I believe it's important, but I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because I think that 3 minutes is a kind of like a marker right there, that you can still are in the informal stage, but once you go over 3 minutes, then you're getting into a formal stage. So that 3 minutes is very critical on how well you do that, because people will pay attention for 3 minutes. Beyond that, then you got to use some good techniques. The third segment is the speech that I had sent from Michael Roth, who's the president of Wesleyan University. And I've specifically, because I think he did a very good job, and I wanted each of us to focus on a specific aspect of his speech, because he does a lot of things really well in that. And I believe, Julie, I had given you body language. Latesh, you might have gotten voice. I'm taking the humor part of it. And then on the second round, we can kind of look at the entire speech on what you thought of it. So this way we can kind of assess what a good speaker, what are some of the things that he does really well. And then if we have time, I don't know whether we have time, I included the Sarah Palin speech for one important reason, not that there's not that we can learn from that speech, but it is a public speech that was given in front of an audience. And I wanted to get feedback on it, because we always think that all public speeches have to be good, and I'm not a pro or against Sarah Palin, but I didn't think it's a kind of speech that I thought was that effective, but evidently her audience liked it. So the question is that here we're taking this course like Introduction to Public Speaking, learning all these techniques, and then here we have a speaker that most of us would probably say didn't do well as far as some of the techniques we're learning. But evidently she's on that stage giving that speech, and the question is, why is she giving that speech? What is it? Is it her public speaking skill, or is it her celebrity status that allows her to speak? So then the question is, do you really have to be a good speaker if you are a celebrity? So anyway, so that if you have time, we can do a quick evaluation of that. Not to analyze the speech, but just what really makes a good speaker. Why is she having that stage and not like each of us, which we're improving, but we're not getting an opportunity to give a speech in front of a large audience like that. So that's the show for today. So at this point, I'll let you guys do a quick intro, and then we'll do our 3-minute speech. Julie, you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Julie. I'm currently in Stanford today. I moved from Chicago. So, yeah, one of my key motivations is to figure out successful skills that are transferable from the individual realm to the business realm. So, so today, I'm going to use the idea that this Coursera speech class could be a place where we can practice core successful skills. And my vision is long term is to develop a basket of these skills, to use Jay's term, and then to offer them open source for free for individuals in the online platforms, and then to offer them as a for revenue service to organizations and corporations. Thank you.
Excellent. Latesh?
Hi, hi Jay, hi Julie. My name is Latesh Balakrishnan, and I'm based out from India, specifically based out from Cochin, that is the south part of India. I work in the software industry as a project manager, and my hobbies are like running fitness-related activities, reading, and being updated on current topics. I've been participating in this Coursera platform for the past couple of weeks now, and I have found that I've been able to get a lot of opportunities to improvise myself and be comfortable in doing public talking. In Specifically in my work related areas, I have found a very constructive improvement. So that has been like not only in terms of my speech, but also in terms of my confidence level, and also in terms of how I'm able to take constructive feedback from the team and use it proactively, and I use it in my day-to-day interactions with my colleagues as well as with my team members. So it has been a quite rewarding experience to be part of this particular platform, and especially getting a lot of good feedback from Jay, Julie, Soumyan. So this platform has been very helpful for me in that way to professionally and improve my skills, and future I'm looking at developing the skill set wherein I will be like, in fact I have already given a couple of talks, training programs here in my organization, but I would like to reach out to a wider audience and probably take my learnings from what experiences I have gained from here to a larger audience, and then gain that in that kind of an expertise to face them and talk confidently on any given topic at any point of time. So thank you. Back to you, Vijay.
Okay, Latesh, thanks a lot. I'm going to take a quick pause, and then we can do our short 3-minute speech. And then after that, we'll move to our segment. So I'm going to take a quick pause because what I want to do is I want to be able to separate these out so that if you wanted to use the speech for a specific purpose, you can do that. Okay, so after each one, we'll take like a brief pause so we can like edit that out nicely. Okay, so we're going to move to our first segment here, and here we're going to do a 3-minute speech, a short speech. So this 3-minute speech that I have prepared is related to this commercial that was very popular in the 1970s here in the United States, and I'm sure Julie's familiar with this. It used to be a commercial for a laundry detergent called Calgon. And the way it worked was, I don't know whether this commercial would be politically correct today, but evidently I haven't seen it, so you can check it out on YouTube. In fact, I wrote a blog about this. So what happens is this woman comes to this laundromat, and there is this Chinese owner. His name is Mr. Lee. And the lady says, "Oh, Mr. Lee, how do you get the shirt so clean?" And Mr. Lee tells this woman, it's an ancient Chinese secret. And this woman's like, "Oh, really? Oh, that must be something interesting. I wouldn't know what that is." But Mr. Lee's wife, so that then the commercial goes in the back, and Mr. Lee's wife is not as guarded as Mr. Lee is. And she fills in on her secret. As it turns out, there is no ancient Chinese secret. She's using this laundry detergent called Calgon. So as the commercial comes to an end, she yells out to her husband, honey, we're running out of Calgon. So then that lady goes to Mr. Lee, ancient Chinese secret, huh? So why am I telling you this? I think it's a very good commercial. It's that public speaking, we always make it so complicated. So I'm going to use Julie as an example since she's Chinese. An easy target for me here. So let's say Julie's at an event and some person comes to her and says, oh, Julie, I really enjoyed the way you speak. How did you become such a good speaker? And Julie obviously is not going to tell the person. She's going to tell them, oh, it's an ancient Chinese secret. And then she says, oh, well, if you would excuse me, I'm going to go get a drink. But then her husband is not that guarded. You know, really? Julie's secret isn't that much of a secret. She participates on this show called Speech Talk Live every Friday, and that's what it is. So then when Julie comes back, the person says, aha, ancient Chinese secret, huh? Anyway, that was my 3-minute speech. I hope you liked it. Okay, Julie, you want to go next?
Sure. I am a student. My name is Julie. I'm a student at the public speaking class. And I think we all want to be successful and happy. And one of the core skills that's very difficult for us to do is public speaking. And that I'm sure you can relate that because we are all taking this class. And yet the success rate of the class, people who actually complete the course, is about 1 in 1,000. So if I ask you what are your personal odds, just for the success of this class, it's pretty poor. I think part of the MOOC paradigm is very difficult. It's a lack of participation and engagement in any class. And I want to submit to you that it's almost impossible to finish a class like this without some kind of engagement and support and practice. And so how do you get the practice? It's basically through coming to courses like that. But for some of us, coming to a course like this may be the waterfall experience, you know, too much, too quick. So if we look at the step-by-step graduated one, you know, the first thing is watch the videotapes. Just make a commitment to do that. The second thing is participate in discussion forums. Ask a question if you don't have an answer. Reply. And thirdly, when you're ready, Jay and I both run a Google community. Check out the communities. Perhaps you can post there. Perhaps you can share resources. And finally, getting to the heart of the matter is we want to speak. And I have this one young manager in India and one in Morocco told me that both of their careers are at a standstill. It's a bottleneck because they cannot deliver meaningful speeches. In one case, he is working for an American firm and also a company that sources IT services to India. So his ability to communicate across the online platform is critical. The other one was a college student, and he can see that his career is impacted because when he tried to speak, he cannot make a voice. So these are the problems, and I've given you the solution is to step up, participate. When you're ready, you can certainly join. I have a practice activity where you can read and then discuss so that the formality of speaking is kind of overcome by warming up through reading other people's words. And then Jay's Speech Talk Live, once you reach a certain level, you can join us. In addition, you can do Study Buddy. Looking at my time, that's my 3 minutes. So my discussion here is how can you actively participate, and that will lead to success. So thank you, and have a great day, and hope you enjoy the program. That's my 3 minutes.
All right, Julie, that's good. Latesh, you want to go next? Hey, before we go,
Yeah.
Sana has just joined us. Sana is one of the mentor for
Hi,
the course.
Sana.
I don't know if she could probably listen to us. I'm not sure whether she wants to join the video. She's in the middle of her work right now. So I'm just going to tell her. So Sana, we're in the middle of a show, which each of us are currently giving our 3-minute talk. And once Latesh is done, we'll let you introduce yourself, okay?
Okay, this is just
Okay.
fine.
Why
I'm
don't
sorry
you?
for just dropping. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you mute your line, or you got to hop off quickly?
sorry.
You can stay on for a while.
Yes.
Okay.
I will stay for let's say 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Can you mute your line?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Latesh, you want to go and give your 3-minute talk, and then we'll go to Sana and she'll introduce herself. Okay. So Latesh, go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Jay. So for this the discussion, I was actually not prepared. So for me, it's more like an impromptu speech. So the topic that I thought should be something that is connected to communications and improving the talk or the verbal communications. So what I felt is like this particular topic which I'm going to talk today is about how to end a conversation, how to reach a conclusion before. I think Jay, Julie, if you could mute, I can hear some noises.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh.
Yes. So yeah, thanks. So communications is like a very important aspect in any field where we are whether working or in our personal life. There are many forms of communications, verbal, non-verbal. There are many methods of communication. So we could be using your telephone, we can be using a video call that we're doing now, or it could be a face-to-face, which happens most of the time. So it's a very important aspect that when we are communicating, the introduction part, the middle part wherein we are talking about the main topic, etc., is fine. But the ending of the conversation is actually the most important, because that actually leaves the taste behind. So it's like if we have food, maybe like a full course food dessert or something like that. We have a complete meal, a fit us a spicy meal, but we don't end it with something sweet. That leaves a sour taste in the mouth. So in the same way, when we are doing any communication, but we abruptly stop in middle, or we are not able to reach a conclusion or a stage wherein it is a particular point wherein it doesn't end up in the right note. Actually, it gives a incorrect message. It gives an incorrect message to the recipient. So when communication involves multiple people, when there are when one-to-one conversation or one-to-many conversations, it is very important that we end it in the right note. So there are some methods by which we can do it. If it is face-to-face communication, then we are actually seeing the person just in front of us. Then it becomes easier because we are able to see the body language of the person. So if the person is showing some signs like he pauses and is like seems to be not really interested, so we know that he has reached a point wherein like we need to probably conclude what we are about to say. Or if there is something like he says, okay, so what next? So if he says something like that, means he has reached a saturation point wherein we need not continue with the topic. We not probably talk much about it. Let's come to that logical point. Or a third is like he seems to be disinterested and is looking here and there and is not really looking at you directly in the eye. So that is also a sign that he's really not interested much to listen to you. So these are some points, some kind of directions which you can notice, some kind of points which we can see in the other person, and accordingly see like, okay, this is the stage wherein like we need to probably end this particular discussion, and you can end this end the talk by giving him some kind of a carrot to hit on. Maybe it's like okay, so when do we meet next? So if you feel that your agenda was not completely resolved and you want to continue the discussion, you can probably give him that kind of a time and saying that is it possible for us to connect maybe next week sometime? So that means like you just want to probably see if the person is really interested in talking to you further, and you can actually reach the objective which you had initially set out to. So that is one way. or if you feel that the communication has been there, but then it wasn't very constructive, or it wasn't really getting some some insights into what you are actually trying to convey. So in that case, you can probably probe him a little and see that if there is some gap between what you were saying and what he intended to hear. Maybe you can tell him that you will get back with some more details, some more fine tuning of the ideas which you were thinking about. So the way in which you do it is like person to person dependent. But ideally, the most important thing is that you end it in a right note. You give him a feel good factor. You with proper etiquettes, saying goodbye, thank you so much for your time. That's very important because you are actually using somebody's valuable time for for giving you kind of time for giving your thoughts. So from that angle, it becomes imperative that we end it in a very right note, very correct and simple, and in the right etiquettes. So that's about my topic on how to end discussion.
All right,
Over to you,
Latesh.
Jay. Thanks.
All right, Latesh. Thanks a lot. Next time, try to bring it under 3 minutes. Okay, so I know that's one of the things we're all going to struggle with when we start talking. So now we have a special guest, I guess. Sana, you want to introduce yourself and tell us? By the way, you met Julie, and Latesh is also joining us. We have another person, Soumyan, you met, right? And he's not on today. So I'll, at this point, turn it over to you, Sana. Introduce yourself and tell us what you've been up to. We haven't seen you for a while.
Okay, I think the mic is working, guys. Are you? Hello? Yes? Okay, so nice to catch up with you finally. I mean, I've been a bit absent. I am sorry for being, let's say, not lazy, but busy in some other stuff, more personal stuff and professional stuff. And also, I have always a trouble with the time, Fully, I managed some work because I still have to work till 5 p.m. I still have 2 more hours at work. To present myself, I'm a mentor with you guys, with Julie and Jay and some you. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name
Sana, you're not coming through clearly.
wrongly. I'm sorry. Hours of public speaking. Jay, can you repeat?
Yeah, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. So I just wanted to let you know that we're not able to hear you. So if you can just repeat some of the stuff you were just saying.
Okay, I was just presenting myself as a mentor with you guys at this public speaking course, this wonderful course. What else? I forgot. I mean, I cannot repeat what I said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me ask. Why don't I just ask you a question? Because yes,
but I'm really happy to see you, Julie. I love you guys are, keeping.
Yeah, hopefully we can. What we'll do, Sana, is we're going to let you go. What we'll do is we'll see if we can do a show one day. Because see, we have an issue here. The thing is that we have people from India. If it gets too late, then they cannot join because then it gets really late. So we may want to do a show if we can get. Because for Julie and me, it's okay if we can move it in the afternoon. But the reason is that we do have. Students, I mean, we have Soumyan and Latesh joining us, and right now I think, Latesh, what time is it right now? It's almost like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in India.
I have no idea.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, right. So we may want to push it back if it's convenient for you, so maybe we can pull in people like Sana who can join us and make this much... So Sana will let you know, okay? And I appreciate you joining us. Any closing words before you leave us?
No, I just love you so much, guys, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.
And Sana, we appreciate you joining us, and always you're always welcome to join us. And hopefully we'll accommodate you so that you can join us in the future. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye. All right. So we're going to take a quick pause. And so that's Sana. Sana is from, I don't know whether you got her intro. She's from Morocco or Tunisia? I think Tunisia, right? She's from Tunisia. Okay. So the next segment is the self-evaluation segment that we're going to go through. And this one, I think we can spend maybe 3-4 minutes each and just kind of go through what you think you're doing well and what you think you need to continue to work on. So I'll start out first. So at this point, this is our 15th episode. So we have done more than 14 to 15 hours of speech talk live. And the things that I wrote down some things that I think that we're doing well is I think we're having really good discussion on wide range of topics that are related to speech. And speech is one of those things that you can broaden it out because you're not just talking about just speaking alone, but it allows you to talk about more complex topics that are business related, maybe politics. So speaking is a very fundamental thing. Without that, you can't talk about these other issues. So we're not just focusing on, oh, the body language, this and this. We're looking at the actual content of it. And I think the people that we have on this, I'm very proud of everybody. They do a lot of work preparing for it. They contribute a lot. They have a lot to say, which is really good. When you give them 3 minutes, it's almost like you have to give them like 10 minutes. You have to stop them like enough. So that's one thing we do have to work on. We have to somehow try to say things as quickly as possible and then come back again. Because otherwise, and I need to learn that too, because if you talk too much, then people get bored, even though we like to listen to ourselves, but other people probably don't. So the things that I have to work on that I'm noticing is that, I don't know whether you've noticed, I tend to occasionally speak too fast, and I need to slow it down a little bit. And this is one of those things that's going to require work. I just got to keep doing it. When I'm under control, because your voice tells you whether you are under control, the feeling that I'm getting across to people. If I start talking really fast, even though I may know a lot about the topic, the way you're perceiving it is that Jay's out of control. So the message does not come through clearly. So I have to work on that because that's something that I noticed as I was going through a few of my speeches, that at times I do tend to talk fast. Like right now, I'm talking the way I want to talk because I'm trying really hard not to speak fast. So that is something that I have to work on. But let's face it, if I don't do this show, I wouldn't know it. So I'm picking this thing up. And one of the things for doing the self-evaluation is that we have to be our own best critic. We can't always expect other people to do it for us, because the time that we're going to spend trying to improve, then you can ask for little specific things like, hey, do you notice this? Do you notice that? But we each of us have to learn how to do a real good self-evaluation. And also the third thing I'll point out, and then I'll let Julie go next, is I need to learn how to speak, especially in this type of a forum, and even face-to-face, what Latesh was talking about, that I need to keep an eye on you, whether you are still focusing on what I'm talking about or am I losing you. And sometimes you can even give an indication as a way of helping me out that, hey, you're going on too long, now you're not really making sense, so that I need to then ask you, like, just get the feeling that I need to end it short. So at this point, I'm going to end it short. These are things that I need to work on. And I think doing these shows and constantly doing it, I think I'm going to get better at it. But overall, I've been pretty impressed because I feel much more comfortable doing this show. In the beginning, I didn't know how it was going to go, but now I feel comfortable speaking in front of camera, speaking with people, and I think most of the time I'm coming across clearly, but still there is a lot of room for improvement as far as I'm concerned. Julie, you want to go next?
Thanks, Jay. So this is an overall evaluation of just how I'm doing as STL, not necessarily the speech earlier, right? Okay. So I do time myself. I have Sometimes I use the timer on my computer, and sometimes I use my phone. I think for me to time myself is very important because I'm a big picture guy, right? So always I have to try to contain in the speech. I think on the whole, I can definitely say that joining this program has helped me. One of the things it has helped me is to be able to analyze on the fly, to structure it, and then since my own personal goal has always been stay within 3 minutes, I always try to reach that. So in that sense, I think I'm pretty good at with respect to timing. Lots of room to improve, but that's one of my basic goals. Um, I also think I'm pretty good when I'm on the camera talking to you, doing eye contact. My challenge is when I'm off the camera doing a video. I find it very, very, it's almost hard to get the energy wrapped up to do the speech. So one of the things I have gotten, I'm working on is actually your suggestion, Jay, which is to use my phone as a recorder. And and I've done that several times on this speech, but I can definitely feel that I'm a better, yes, me too. I'm a better person on, I'm a better person on camera in real life than I am on video. So that's my challenge. And in terms of how I'm doing here, I have learned a lot. I'm comfortable, but obviously, this is a tip of the iceberg for me in terms of developing my public speaking skills. And what I like to practice on is continuing the discipline of organizing, delivering the speech, and giving a good punchline. And as Latesh says, to have a good ending is very, very important. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, Julie. Yeah, and anytime if there is anything we can do to help you, just and that's part of this show also. Anything we can do to help you uh, get better. Latesh, you want to go next? What do you think that's you're doing well and what you need to work on?
Sorry, my network today is very slow, so I don't know. My laptop has started becoming very weird. It is acting weird today. So yes, for me, the speech talk evaluation, the entire platform has been a great learning curve. I've been participating in these sessions for the past, I think, around 8 to 10 weeks now. And maybe I would have lost out on one or two sessions in between. But otherwise, I've been regular, and I have found it's really improved my overall communication skills, especially with respect to public talking. It's a and the videos that the team shares, especially Jay, the videos that you share with us are like from the top class public speakers, the best personalities available from across the globe. So that gives a very holistic perspective of how to actually benchmark ourselves against the best people. So that it definitely opens our ideas, it widens the horizons, and to look at the way that we need to talk, the way we need to express our and thinking to the wider audience in the best possible way, keeping it very simple, etc. So that's like a very good insights into how we can learn to be a better person with respect to our talking skills, with respect to our day-to-day communication skills, and how we interact with people. There are multiple challenges, of course. I mean, this platform gives us one area where we can do a lot of experimentation with respect to our work, etc. But on top of it, there are definitely some challenges, like because the kind of environment that we have here is more like a very formal, and we are given a slot to talk, etc. When it actually comes to a real time scenario, like I've been recently to one of this a kind of panel discussion. So there are like a lot of audiences, and the panel team were like very experienced people were seated on the panel and on the stage, and it wasn't that I was very actively participating, but it was just that we were asked to, do some questionings, so we could actually ask some questions with respect to the topic, and it was on smart cities and how we can leverage technology to improve smart cities. So from that angle, I did speak up, and unfortunately, the mic was also not there. So then it was very difficult to actually, come up when there was a lot of, I mean, it was chaos. So there were a lot of people who were trying to get up and ask questions. So I had to ensure that I am heard, and I had to be very short, very crisp in, and then drive the point that I wanted to raise, so that the panel could actually get what I wanted to, because they were taking suggestions, and those suggestions were going to be implemented as a part of the plan, as a blueprint. So it needed to be very, very clear, and it needed to be, noted at that particular point with the best people who knows the topic pretty well. So those kind of challenges are something that probably that any of us who are probably participating here, but when they go to the outside world and then do a real-time participation, would face it. So, but this gives us a platform. This gives us the confidence to actually get up and talk. And I think that's a big thing for me. So I think that's how I've been doing pretty well. I can evaluate myself and say that over the past 2 months since I've been here in this program, I feel that definitely I have improved a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you definitely have. I mean, just now what you just said was really well done, and I think that's the key thing. Part of this show, and I think one of the things that we can talk offline with Julie, and I can send an email, that perhaps we can just have like a 10-week just what we're doing, and have another session where people just come on and do what we're doing. And anyway, that's a separate thread. But there's something else I think that's also important, is that if you want to improve, and I think Julie's already doing this, she goes back and views the video, and I do tend to pick up a lot on what I'm doing. And one thing that sometimes I also notice is that, we're all pretty smart. I mean, we're all highly educated and we have good experience. And that also presents a unique challenge in a sense that we have a lot to say, but to compress that in a way to make it, to shorten it and make it interesting, that's hard. And I think that's something I need to work on, and we all need to work on that, because people's attention span are getting shorter and shorter. So as something that Litesh said in the beginning, you need to look for those cues on whether you are coming across clearly, whether the person really is interested, and you need to kind of sense that. You got to become good at perception. Whether are you making, first of all, you have to know whether you're making sense before you try it on somebody else. There's one thing I'll point out, which I think why this Speech Talk Live is important. I didn't realize how important it was till recently. I was watching this movie. You may have seen this movie. It was called. It's not a new movie. It came out, I think, in 2008, 2009, called Up in the Air. I don't know. Raise your hand if you've seen that movie. No? Okay. So the movie is about. It stars George Clooney. He's a famous actor. And he is working for this company, and his job is to travel from city to city, basically firing people. So companies hire his company, and he's the guy who goes to different places and has to tell them that, sorry, you've been let go. And then the company that he's working for hires this woman, and she comes up with this great idea that we don't even need to do that. We can just do it over the video. And he's now ticked off because, he's like, wait a second, I could be replaced now by this video technology. People can just lay off each other. Like, hey, Julie, you're fired, and Julie will be crying and whatever. Or maybe she'll be happy, I'm getting fired from Speech Talk Live. I can do something else. So it was pretty interesting that the video, even though we like to do a lot of things face-to-face, but don't diminish the importance of video today, because we couldn't be doing this type of a show if we didn't have the video technology and getting a chance to, because I've never met any of you guys face to face, yet think I know you really well. So the video technology is here to stay, and we all do need to become good at for many of us, this is the way we're going to meet people rather than getting in face to face is something we all want, but that may not be that realistic with the technology, the way it's advanced in the video technology. So anyway, that was the final thought on that. So Julie, any final thought on this technology and overall the video technology? How do you feel comfortable using this online video?
Yeah, Jay, I'm going to take 20 seconds. So, yeah, I agree that the video is a major way for us to engage with people, and not only locally, because I could not meet Latesh, had it being a face-to-face meeting, and it is becoming a part of our lives. And I think this Speech Talk Live is it's a vehicle for me to engage in that world. Thank you. I didn't time myself.
Yeah, Julie, we're gonna have to learn from you to how to do it under 30 seconds. I think you beat that, so you'll get a prize for that. I don't know what that is, but you'll get to host the show next week. That's your prize.
Too much.
Latesh, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I too believe that this technology is here to stay. The platform gives us so much of advantage, and it gives us a great opportunity to connect. It's not the location that becomes a criteria. It's only about how much clarity of the technology is available, how much network is good in that location, and then we are on. So especially this particular platform, Google Hangouts and the other platforms earlier. But this is like really cool, and we are able to really see each other face to face, express thoughts, and it's just like a virtual classroom that we are having a session here, and it's great. It's great to be connected here. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. It's like a workshop, and it's one of the things is that even though the stakes are low, but you have to raise the stakes. Otherwise, when you go and do it for real, then you will not get nervous. Okay, so let's take a brief pause, and then we'll start our next segment. Okay, welcome to Speech Talk Live, episode 15, segment number 2. In this segment, we're going to have a discussion around this idea of having this the 3-minute speech. So one of the things that I believe in, and I'd like to get Julie and Latesh's thought on it, and if you're watching it, you can send us an email or comment on it when this video is posted, is that when you're speaking, you kind of go from, like when you're speaking at an event, like not an event, let's say at a party or a social event, you have at most, I think, 3 minutes. And once you start exceeding 3 minutes, then unless you are one of the world's greatest speaker, you're going to become a bore. And I always think that 3 minutes is the mark you got to really watch out for, because once you go over 3 minutes, the people are not going to tell you you're a bore. They're just going to start tuning out. And 3 minutes is like the last level informal you can be at, informal up to 3 minutes. After that, you need to start bringing in additional techniques of humor, whether it's a story. And I think that what I do is just so that I have this recorder that I don't know if you can see it. I keep this with me all the time. And what I do is I constantly will record a 3-minute talk on any topic. It could be whether it's sports, whether it's on politics, whether it's on something business related, or even speech related. And I want to know what I sound like in that 3 minutes, because if I come to you and let's say Latesh and Julie, I want to be able to explain that in under 3 minutes. Because after 3 minutes, I'm going to start losing you. Then I have to start putting in some humor or have another story. Because once you go over 3 minutes, it's becoming much more of a formal talk. So I want to know whether you agree with this, whether you think this, because one of the things I want to do is if people are asking us like, how do I improve my public speaking skills? And public speaking is hard, and I don't want to give them a lot of things because they're never going to do it. As we all realize that this introduction to public speaking course, very few people finish it. But that doesn't mean you can't improve, because a lot of those speeches, informative and persuasive, are difficult speeches in my opinion. But I think the 3-minute speech, the short 3-minute speech, is something we can basically put to use today. And that's what I try to encourage people to do. That don't try to worry about this informative speech or persuasive speech you're going to give in front of an audience. Most likely, you're not going to give it in front of an audience unless you're like Latesh, who has an opportunity to give it at work. But that doesn't mean that you cannot give a 3-minute speech in any different venue that you find yourself in. So, Julie, you have any thoughts on it? And what do you think of it? And if you do, how do you use it?
Well, the 3-minute speech is kind of like the impromptu speech. And so when I was working, that could have been really helpful for me because in any meetings or discussions, being able to formulate cogent thesis and then supporting document and then coming to a conclusion is really good. Never thought about it, but I think I'm going to apply it in many conversations. You know, I would take a little bit of time to make sure I understand what they're saying, formulate a quickie hypothesis and conclusion, and then deliver that. So I think that's very useful even in interpersonal communications. I'm going to practice with that. Thanks.
Jay, Julie, I think both of you are on mute.
Oh, Latesh, any thoughts on that? Go ahead.
Yeah. For me, it's like the 3 minute talk is more of an impromptu discussion. And when we are actually talking, most of the time we spend our time to think. So it is difficult actually to compress all this different thoughts to put it into a logical sequence and frame it in 3 minutes. So each minute has to be like very much evaluated that way. So the first minute probably we spend on introducing the topic, etc. The second minute might overlap into the third, but the second minute is the most critical part wherein you actually put the body and put the structure, put the overall problem as well as the solution. And the ending part, which is the last 1 minute, probably the 1 minute could end up like 30 seconds or so, but then you need to ensure that the idea that we had actually started off has to be ended up in a proper sequence. So the third minute is actually critical to ensure that the whole thing has been passed across to the audience. So 3 minutes is a very critical element to note that we are putting a big stuff in 3 minutes. So I would like to practice a lot on this.
Yeah, and it's hard, okay? Let me tell you, this is not easy. And the main reason is, getting back to what you said earlier, is that you really have to respect the person that you're talking to, right? Just because you know a topic doesn't mean that that person understands what you're going to tell them, because you can overload them with too much information. And that makes it difficult because now the burden is on you to compress that in that 3 minutes so that the other person can understand it and say, oh, I want to know more. And I look at it this way: if somebody out there, you can pretty much tell, like you were saying, in 3 minutes, if they're not interested, then just end it right there. It's over. Don't continue to go on, and we all, once we get the mic, we can kind of go on for a while. But once you have 3 minutes, then let the other person now drive the conversation. And it's a good way to practice, because if you can get your message across in 3 minutes, then the more time you have, you can now make it more entertaining. If you can get your message across in 3 minutes. So let's say if you are saying I have to give a talk on stage gates, explain to me in 3 minutes what exactly is stage gates. If you cannot do that in 3 minutes, then the more time you have, it's unlikely you're going to be able to do it more than that, because then what you risk is losing your audience quickly. But let's say you were able to do it in 3 minutes, then I say, yeah, you got the idea pretty much. I got it. Then the rest of the speech, you can inject more stories in it to make that speech much more entertaining so that people live it. When they leave, they remember it much better because you've now added a little bit of humor, a little bit of stories, a little bit of statistics. So there's a lot of meat you added to the bone there. But the bone cannot be more than 3 minutes. That's what I want to try to work on. And I just wanted to kind of have that discussion. Okay, Julie, any closing thoughts on this before we move on to our next segment?
No, that's great. Thanks, Jay.
Latesh, any closing thoughts?
No, I too agree with you, Jay. 3 minutes is a very critical time. I mean, if you are able to practice your talk in 3 minutes, I think that will help you to actually elaborate and talk very constructively when it is a longer session.
Okay, great. So that's what we'll work on. That's why that 3 minute in the beginning, I think, is a good way for each of us to practice. Okay, let me just take a brief pause and then we'll move to our next segment. Okay, welcome to Speech Talk Live episode number 15. We're moving to segment number 3. And in this segment, I wanted to evaluate the speech that was given recently by the president of this university called Wesleyan University. And this speaker is Michael Roth. He's quite famous. He's an excellent speaker. And he's giving this speech to the parents who probably have come to drop their kids off who are starting college. And the speech is about the value of liberal arts education. And I think he does an excellent job giving this speech. So what I want to look at is that there's so much aspect of that one person cannot possibly cover it. So what I've done is I've kind of divided into different areas that each of us can focus on. I asked Julie to focus on the body language since he does use a lot of body language. He's moving all over the place. Then Latesh, I think you were going to focus on voice, and maybe if you want to focus on content since Somin is not here. And then after that, I'll come and talk about how he uses humor so effectively. So Julie, do you want to comment on the way Michael Roth uses his body language throughout the speech?
Yes, thanks, Jay. So let me set my trusty little timer. Yes, thanks, Jay. So for me, because I'm free from the content, I thought that I'll look at body language in terms of engaging or connecting with the audience. How does Michael Roth connect to the audience, and is that effective in the mainstream? And I looked at it in terms of 3 components. The first one is eye contact, and the second one is energy, and the third one is posture and movement. Okay, so first of all, in terms of eye contact, actually it's very interesting, right? So in the beginning, you see him looking at the sky instead of looking at the audience. So in looking at the mainstream way of public speaking, he did not engage with the audience at all through eye contact. But then meditating on that, sleeping on it, I realized that he's working from the religious paradigm where, the preachers in the Christian community would tend to look up the sky to connect with God. So because of the community that he's working with, I believe that he was connecting with the audience through his eye contact with God in a way that maybe the mainstream America may not appreciate. The second thing is his energy level is very high, both through gesturing and a lot of pacing. Again, I find that personally a little bit disorienting, so much energy. But again, in that milieu, the community that he works with, I imagine that's very effective. And finally, he's very dramatic. He uses a lot of body language. And that clearly, for some of us, maybe almost too much, but in his audience, again, it's very effective. Also, actually, he does something very interesting. When he comes to a specific point where he wants the audience to do something, that is the moment he creates eye contact. And I actually have a timing here, but it looks like I don't have it in this one. So at certain times when he says, when your son comes back and bitches to you about a really, really tough teacher, don't talk to me. And finally, the same thing with gesture. When he wants someone to listen, he stops all motion. And so his energy actually comes to a standstill. It's almost like an implosion. So I think his techniques were unconventional but very effective, both in terms of eye contact, body gesture, and energy level, because he does this opposing thing. High energy, collapse when he wants to listen to you. So he almost draws you in. Thank you. That's my
Right. No, that's excellent. Yeah, I thought that he used his body language really well to capture the audience. And again, we were watching it on video, and I think when you look at the audience, they seem to be very attentive when he was speaking. So, Latesh, do you want to comment on how he uses his voice? And if you want to hit the content, you can also touch upon that, since I was hoping that Somian would join us and he could focus on that, since he's very content-oriented. You want to focus on how effectively or ineffectively he uses his voice throughout the speech?
Right. Thanks, Jay. I actually, I think I was given words as part of that, so I didn't actually
Okay, go ahead.
look into it.
Yeah. So
No, but it's fine.
then just to focus on the words, and then I'll use the voice and the humor part. So go ahead. If that's what you prepared for, then just talk about the words.
Oh, yeah. No, but from holistically, when I look at the entire talk, it was quite a powerful message that he was driving in. So when it comes to the way he was giving the talk, as Julie mentioned, there was very high level of energy. So, and that energy level was along with energy came that very that loud voice, the booming voice with which he was talking. That actually was keeping the audience engaged. And when you have an engaged audience, all that you need to do is like push it a bit further with a lot of good content, good talk, good words, and words that would actually pull them. So that's what he very effectively did in this entire 16 minutes or so of this discussion. The dimensions, the two dimensions that he spoke about, discovering what they love to do, what the kids would love to do, and getting better at it. So that's like really that's like he pinpointed the two main essential things that his university was trying to do through. And along with it, certain specific words, strong words, which actually kept the audience involved. And I think some of those which I picked was information literacy. Information literacy is like, I think that was very strong word to use, information literacy. And holistic design and engineering, respond to the real problems and opportunities, but taking a tall order of the situation. I think people with extraordinary ideas will be able to structure their thoughts more appropriately. And he also mentioned that university is not just about getting education; it is also acquiring the skill set, so that when the students pass out from here and they go into any other arena, any other location, and when they're engaged in any other activity, they would be able to do justice to that particular role. So it's like we are giving the students that kind of a tooling to reimagine how we are able to leave an impression in any area, whether it is politics, healthcare, or whatever work that we're going to do. So, and one important takeaway that he spoke was about we do a lot of studies. I mean, in my career, like in my education, I've been doing like last 16 or 17 years of my education, 18 years of education. It's not the subjects, it's not actually the amount of the exams, the papers, the questions, etc., that we solved, etc. That's not actually that we remember now. When we look back, what we actually remember is what we did. If there are any kind of projects that we did, if there are any activities that we were involved in, any kind of products that we made. So any experiences that we had during our education curriculum, so that is what actually we remember. It's not the subject. So that he puts it very effectively, and I found that to be a really nice way of putting it across. And I think the audience, whoever listens to him, even if the people who are seated there are like people like me who are watching it online, we all can actually gel to the thought process that he is saying. And given an opportunity, Wesleyan University, I think if I'm given an opportunity, definitely I would join there just because of President Roth's speech that I saw today. Thanks, Jade.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was that was excellent. So I'm going to touch upon the two things that he does very well. Remember, like last week, we spoke about humor, and if you notice that he's not really telling any jokes in this speech, but he uses humor quite effectively. I mean, he had an audience really like laughing, right? And there are three uses of humor that I came across, and I thought they were really effective. And I even noted down the mark, so if anybody's watching it and they want to go back to it, but as he was going through those 3 points that Latesh, you just mentioned, the discovery, you have to discover yourself, then you have to get better at it, and then you have to learn from failure. So the first one, when he's talking about the discover part, and here again, the way he uses the voice, he's mimicking this Dean when he says, why decide, man? Like he's like a 60s guy, right? Probably on pot or something. And I thought that was pretty funny, like the way he's is using his voice rather than just say, why decide, man? It was very effective the way he did that. He got people like really, he changes the whole voice and is mimicking this this dean. It kind of sets you in what it was like when he was in college and how the dean is reacting to him and he's getting him to think. And then he does something clever when he comes up with this major, which I think he calls it that was a university major based on his interest that he calls it history of psychological theory. And then he jokes. He said, imagine when I called my father what he was going to say. And I thought that was kind of funny, that here's a father sending his son to a college, and now the son is telling him, hey, Dad, let's look at the major I came up with here. And that humor that he uses is available to all of us. And that's why I thought I wanted to focus on that. Because sometimes we're saying like, oh, but I'm just not funny. I'm just not funny. That line, he doesn't need it. That's for effect. He just created an effect. He could have just said that I created this major history of psychological theory, and he could have moved on to the next point. But no, these are the techniques that I think that makes the speech so effective, is that he then throws in that little funny thing about, imagine when I called my father what he was going to say. And that is something we have to look for in a speech. Now, you can't have too many of these, otherwise the speech gets to the point where you're trying to become a stand-up comedian. So that was the first point that I thought he used humor. Then he gets to that second one when he's talking about how do you have to get better, when he talks about this paper that he submitted from this German philosopher Nietzsche. And the professor writes in the margin saying that he, I think, makes a conclusion in his speech where he says Nietzsche, one of the greatest philosophers, and the way he again uses his voice, like he's like full of hot air, right? Nietzsche, one of the greatest philosophers in the Western tradition, said that all things will come around again and again. And then he said that the professor wrote in the margin, quote, Mr. Roth, you're in no position to make this claim about Nietzsche. And then that was funny, right? Then he said, well, that wasn't the end of it. Then he said, if you're going to make such a claim, you must learn how to spell Nietzsche. I thought that was quite effective. And then the last one is when he uses, that I noted that he used humor, is when he had given this one student a grade of C minus. And the student asks, Professor Roth, what do I have to do? The way he emphasizes it. And here he jokes. He thought, this was an opportunity, whether he was trying to ask me for a bribe or what. So he uses humor and his voice, the way he does it. It makes the speech quite entertaining. You want to not only he gets the message across, but with the story kind of personalizes it. If you notice that all the humor that he uses in all the three examples are his personal humor. And the thing to note is that I noticed it, and it is something that all of us should look for. It's there, it's available, but if you target yourself, you're a fair target. So anytime, like Julie does that quite well, like, right now she's moving around, so she injects that humor. Latesh, you can inject your humor about your IT field, certain things, about your own personal thing. This feels like I'm writing a program or working with a bunch of techies or something like that. All of that is available to us all the time in a speech, and we need to use it. And take risks, because that's how we can make our speech much more engaging with our audience. So Julie, do you want to any closing thoughts on the speech, on the content, and some of the other things that you didn't get a chance to talk about besides the body language?
I really enjoy your mimicking of the gesture, and that brought the whole speech to life for me. And I also want to say I enjoy your point of voice to the body language and timing really helps to deliver something funny. So I'll take that with me. Thank you.
Latesh, any closing thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was a good video. I think instead of having the other videos which were like more of this global personalities and all, this video was focused on one particular area. And Professor Roth, I mean, he was like President Roth rather. He's a great speaker. I think he has a lot of experience talking. So listening to him actually gives us a lot of ideas how we can effectively use so many punching words which are like each and every word that he was using in his talk had a lot of depth. So I think that is something that we need to start practicing in our day-to-day talk as well. Just not to use the words that we use as a regular conversation, but use some very strong words, effective words. That's something I think we all need to get used to. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no, that's a. One thing I'll notice about that speech, and he does a lot of things. It wasn't a boring speech. It wasn't even a boring good speech. It was essentially, I would put it as a contentainment, if that's such a word like that, where he's presenting a content in an entertaining way. And in order to get to that level, which we all want to, he was under control throughout the speech. You never felt like he was getting off the rails, because he was trying a lot of different things there, and that speech could have gone out of control very easily. But he maintains that control throughout the speech, and when we get to the evaluation of the next speech, we'll come across somebody whose speech went out of rails quickly, and that's so. At this point, if there are no comments, we'll just move to the next segment quickly, and I just want to go through that speech. Okay, so at this point, I'll take a brief pause. Okay, welcome to Speech Talk Live, episode number 15, and we're moving to segment number 4. And in this segment, I just wanted to take a look at this speech that was given by Sarah Palin. Now, if you're watching this and you don't know who Sarah Palin is, Sarah Palin was a vice presidential nominee in 2008 election for the Republican Party in the United States. And since then, she's gotten a lot of visibility. She was an ex-governor of Alaska, and because of that, she was chosen to be on John McCain's ticket. Since then, she ended up quitting her position as governor after she lost the election to Obama and Biden. And then she has now kind of become more of a speaker, I guess, because she gives a lot of speeches, and also a celebrity to some extent, because she's always invited to give speeches on topics that are politically related to politics. And this particular speech that we're going to discuss is the one she gave just this week, and it had to do with this this bill that it's an agreement or a treaty. I don't even know if it's not a treaty agreement that America has reached with Iran in preventing their spread of their nuclear, stopping the nuclear program, and in return, Iran gets something like $150 billion. It's a pretty complicated agreement, but anyway, she's against it. That's fine. You can be against it or for it, but she is giving this speech in front of the Capitol with other speakers. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is that we always think that you have to be a great speaker to be invited to give a speech. Now, I'm not going to just because evidently the people that like Sarah Palin, they think she's a terrific speaker, but we're learning speech techniques from this course like Introduction to Public Speaking and looking at some of the well-known speakers like Simon Sinek, Michael Roth, John Cleese, and Steven Spielberg, who we consider as a model of a good speaker. I am not sure anybody out that we know is going to say, well, I want to speak like Sarah Palin. But evidently, she does have a following, and people who agree with her, they love her. But the question that I wanted to raise is not to really analyze the speech, because that I think her speech goes off the rails right from the beginning, the way she starts out her speech. So I don't want to spend a lot of time evaluating her speech, because the speech is at some point the speech is not even coherent as far as what is the main idea that it's a soundbite after soundbite, but the crowd that's there, they love it. So my question to you in this discussion is that do you really even have to be a good speaker if you're a celebrity, or if the people like you no matter what you're going to say? Is your ability to speak well is really that important if people are already, if you're preaching to a choir, if I may use that phrase? Julie, what do you think? Like, if you're giving a speech in front of people that really love you, then are they even going to measure you whether you're a good speaker or not? Or are we kind of wasting our time telling people that they need to be a good speaker? We should just tell them, no, you don't need to be a good speaker. Just speak in front of the people that they already love you. That means you don't even need to join the show. You're already a good speaker. So I just wanted to I was thinking about that, and when I saw that speech, I said, this is interesting, that here's this woman, quite accomplished, but is giving a speech, and I don't think her speech was really that effective as far as the speech techniques we are learning, yet she is on a speaking tour. She's giving speeches to a lot of different organizations, and why is the case? Why is that the case? So, Julie, you want to take a shot at that?
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Actually, I have to make my position clear. I am on the far edge of a Sarah Palin friend, so I don't sign on to her politics. In this case, she is preaching to the choir, because she's talking to the Tea Party people who invited her. So I think the question here is, do you have to be a great speaker to be invited to make speeches? And clearly, in that case, she isn't. To me, it relates more to like propaganda. You kind of just cut to the chase and resonate with what the people are speaking. I think that's what she's doing. She's actually has a lot of charisma. You always say, make your speaker smarter. In this case, I don't think that's her goal. I think in this case is get the audience agitated to vote for the Tea Party or to like her a lot. There's a lot of personalities in America, and clearly in the basic line question of, do you have to be a great, skillful speaker to become in a public? I think the answer is clearly no. The follow-up question is, do you want to be that person? And if it's to be like Sarah Palin, I can quite honestly say no. So it's a double no for me. Thank you.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm not really specifically interested in the politics. You could be either for her or against her. I'm just looking at it from a point of that is this the kind of, like, if you were to watch that, what kind of techniques are you picking up? Like, what you're saying, I'm going to do exactly what she's doing because that really works. Like, are there anything did you learn from that, saying that, I'm going to try that next time I'm giving a speech? I couldn't think of any. I mean, there are a lot of funny things she's trying to say. See, is that a shtick speech or what is it? Is it she's just trying to just get the, like you said, get the audience all agitated and just crack jokes or insult people? I mean, it seems like I don't know what to call that type of speech. That's what I'm saying. Yet she is speaking in front of a large audience.
Can I just answer your question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the technique she is using is there's a lot of implicit meaning. There's a common value base that you and I are probably not tapping into. So when she said things, for example, the death cult, she used the word death cult. For us, it may mean a certain thing, but there is a resonant meaning in that community. So she is speaking their language, and they are resonating to her. So I would say that if you're looking in terms of speaking techniques, one of the things is understanding where your audience are coming from and start from there. The other thing is she is very loud, right? She's very passionate. So those are her skills. She smiles to connect with the audience, right? So I think those are some of the skills that she used. And the other one is it's actually something that we are warned against in the skillful speech one is to ad hominem, to attack the person. Someone like in the community that Sarah Palin was speaking to, ad hominem is an accepted process. So you hear her attacking Valerie Jarrett, you hear her attacking the administration, you hear her using the words like a lapdog. I think it was talking to Obama. So these are the things there's enough value, meaning in that consensus community that she used. So a homonym is a technique of that community can relate to because they all agree to those values. And those people's characterize people that way.
Right. So what you're saying, if I got this, she really knew her audience, that's what they wanted from her. They didn't care about whether there was any logic or anything in the speech. All she needed to do was feed them raw meat, and she's very good at feeding them raw meat. I want to get Latesh's perspective, since he may not know Sarah Palin, but somebody from India. I'm sure you have speakers like Sarah Palin who are very popular in India, and you wonder, like, why are they getting such a large audience? I just wanted to use her because a lot of times we always look at the, model speakers, and this is not, some of the techniques she uses is not the kind of technique that I would advocate. None of us would advocate. But I wanted to get Latesh's view, if he had a chance to view this video, and what did he learn from it, from seeing any, did he pick up any techniques that she uses and saying, I got to try that too?
Hi, Jay. This is a purely political speech. So from that angle, it has all the contents and all that that goes into a masala talk that happens like in most of our politicians in India or anywhere in the globe. Actually, they use this same methodology. So the most important part is to reach out to your audience and make them feel better. The more you talk bad about the opposite party or the opposites, so the better the feel good factor is. So that's that's actually the kind of atmosphere that was created, and Sarah was very good in reaching out to all those listeners, and in fact she personally calls up the police officers, the media professionals, etc. So that's like really reaching out to the crowd, and she's ensuring that they are well kept entertained. The way she has compared the way Hillary Clinton was moving like spinning faster than centrifuges, that kind of examples which was given out, or that a president carries a big stick of promises and it is more like a selfie stick. So all those things are like some bit of humor that has been brought in. So this kind of discussion, this is actually a pure political talk that she's giving. and she was good in that. She was able to actually drive the point through the way and the emotional appeal. Because as politicians, you need to appeal to the human emotions, and that's very critical. And there are very soft spots that she was able to target, especially when you're talking about patriotism, soldiers, women, children. So these are certain areas which anybody with some bend of humanity would be able to relate. The moment you hit upon such topics and the price and things like that, which is like very much connected to your day-to-day life, etc. So, and then when she says that the life of her son, daughters are in the hands of Ayatollah, etc. So that's like she's bringing in that emotional aspect as well. So overall, it was a very what do you call a very emotionally packed, charged up speech, and she was able to. I would say it's not a kind of talk which. In a professional world, we would be able to use it because we do not have to give a talk which wherein we are trying to bring out the opposite parties involved and bring out the negativities, etc. So we may not have too much to take out from here unless we are trying to we are going to get into a political outfit or start some political outfit here. So then probably I can use some methods that Sarah has used. But otherwise, this talk is gives you a different perspective of how a political speech can be made.
Yeah, no, the reason I included it is because it is a public speech that's given, and there are all kinds of speeches that are given, and sometimes when we look at because like I said, we are of different I like to think of myself as somewhat smart, I guess you do too. And we always look at speakers that speak about these real topic in a very nicely organized manner, and we think that's how all speeches, that's what audience all want, and sometimes that's not what they want. And what she does effectively is she just basically gives them what they came to get. That's what she is there for. That whether it made any sense or not, like you said, ad hominem, attacking the other party, making fun of them, that it gives her, somehow she's been given that responsibility to give these type of speeches, right? And she's very effective in that, and that's what she wants to do now. She doesn't care whether she tries to reach out to us or not. We're not part of her audience or part of her people that are going to say that's the kind of speech I want to listen to. We want some logic there. We want some coherence there. But I just wanted to bring that up here because it is a kind of speech that is effective, and we need to know it because there are people that do speak like that and are quite effective in reaching their audience because they've figured out what the audience want and they deliver it. Any closing thoughts before we end this segment? Before we end the show?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's always good to see something negative as well as positive, and to get some perspective on that. So it was very educational. Thank you.
Great, Julie. Latesh, any closing thoughts?
Yes, I think it was a good insight. It's a very different genre of speech, and I enjoyed watching this. Thank you.
Yeah, she's entertaining. I mean, that's why she gets invited. I mean, the way she uses her voice and all that. If you like her, if you ignore any logic, if you just want to be entertained, it does the job. And I actually like seeing it because you don't know what to expect. What kind of what she'll come up with, I have no idea. Like she spoke Russian, I guess, one word Russian, which I didn't even know she knew Russian, because she said that she speaks American. At some point, I wish there was some English translation because there were words coming out, but I had no idea how those words fit into any kind of sentence there. But that's Sarah Palin, and we made her famous, more famous. All right, guys, thanks a lot for joining, and I appreciate you taking time and participating today. Okay.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Julie. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Latish.
Bye.
That's great.
Enjoy your weekend. Okay, bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.